Hey guys, it's Matt. This is something you don't have to see at all if you're driving or just listening. It seems like it's going to be a movie review and another I watched The Four Feathers so you don't have to. But I don't want to it's not a movie review. I'm going to use the movie to bounce all over the place to talk about a bunch of themes that we've talked about many times over the years. A lot of different things. From what is the creepy role of Heath Ledger to what the British role was, which would have its sticky fingers in every foreign country around the world, trying to jam its way of doing business, its culture up the local indigenous peoples, just like the United States took over that role. So I'm going to use The Four Feathers. I watched this turd so you don't have to. And I'll talk about the plot a little bit, but I'm going to use it as kind of a base camp, a staging ground to jump all over the place, the way people that say they climbed Everest go up to base camp B, they sleep at 10,000 feet for 2 weeks, know their bodies can't take anymore, and then just while everybody else goes up, they party and then come back to Chicago and Boston and tell everybody that they climbed Everest. So it's a base camp. This four stinking feathers. So this is the. Let me just tell you about the movie. It's not a movie review, but you need to understand the base camp. Heath Ledger, 2002. This is a completely overrated, as usual, Kate Hudson. I don't remember who this guy is. Let's get off the movie poster. Go over to Wikipedia. Now it's about the noble Royal British campaign in the Sudan, roughly 1882 or so to 1900, where, of course, this is the role the British had before the United States took that role over. They had to go stick their fingers into everything and get into the business of the local indigenous people all over the world and just kill and maim and bring in their cannons and their artillery and their riflemen. And it's just, the first thing they're fighting let me just tell a little bit about the plot here, guys. And we'll get past The Four Feathers. If you haven't seen it, people are like screaming at me, tell me something about what this. Okay, the plot in 3 minutes. I'm not really, if you want to watch it, I'm not going to give too much away here. Basically, Heath Ledger is in one of these super ritzy, expensive military academies. Expensive. I mean, like where the noblemen would go. The sons and daughters of the earls and the counts and the barons, for example. That's what I meant. And they're out there playing rugby and having a good old time and wearing their beautiful uniforms. And none of them ever think they're going to go anywhere, go to war. But they do. At one point, the colonel comes in and says, you guys are going to the Sudan. And everybody, of course, it's like that scene in Jarhead where they're watching, what are they watching in Jarhead when it's announced that they're going to Iraq for Gulf War I? The Apocalypse Now, the scene, the helicopter scene, Apocalypse Now, and all the Marines are jacked up as Lawrence Fishburne and all the others are dropping bombs on the thatch huts in Vietnam, and you're all jacked up, and then we just got the call, you're going to Vietnam, and they're all jacked up. Even, what is his name? I always confuse that guy with Shia LaBeouf, because their names are equally weird. Jake Gyllenhaal. It's like that. They come in and say, you guys are going to Sudan. And Heath Ledger's whole troop is like, yeah, we're going to go kick some ass. But Heath Ledger says nothing. He's like, oh, shit. And it turns out the theme of the movie, The Four Feathers, I didn't realize even until 30 minutes in. This relates to the video that I covered about, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago about the Feather Girls of World War I, where if you were a man between 18 and 35 and you're just walking the streets, these women would run up to you in the UK and shame you, shove a feather into your lapel, shove a feather in your hair, try to poke you in the eye with it, with the other pointy part. So what are you walking around these streets for, boy? You should be fighting in the trenches. Anybody that loves mother country is going to fight in the trenches. Get in the trenches, boy. and they shamed people. And I didn't realize that's what this was all about. So Heath Ledger is portrayed initially as a coward. He won't go with his regiment to war in the Sudan. And of course, if he made the appeal in the movie, and by the way, The Four Feathers was a movie that was put out in like 1940, so this is a remake. You almost get the sense they wanted to remake this. Okay, there's, people rolling their eyes like, oh, here comes the conspiracy. It's not, everything in this world's not a conspiracy, Matt. When it gets to certain themes and topics, and it is. Yeah, if it gets to certain high-level themes and topics, it is. And it's not a conspiracy, it's just inverted and false. So we'll leave it at that. So they remade it, and it does seem, they don't present it in any way like, I'm not going to go kill indigenous people and I'm a better person. It is about the way they present this movie, about Heath Ledger's a coward. He is afraid to go. He shows he's going to throw up in the bathroom, for example, that sort of thing, when they tell him, oh, of course, all his regiment is jacked to go and go kill indigenous people. And he tells his father, who's like a general or colonel, that he's not going and he's resigning his commission. And one more minute about the movie before we move on to other topics. His regiment goes, and he's, I guess, engaged to Kate Hudson, and she kind of calls it off, like she won't marry this coward. But he's like, I just can't live with myself. And he makes his way on his own to the Sudan. How do you even do that in 1885 or whatever? Makes his way on his own to the Sudan and to help his regiment in some way. And of course, it's just one bit of suffering after another. I mean, just, the way these people live, even the British, are taking slaves to move their cannons and their artillery. And it's just really the horrors that Heath Ledger put through, in prison cells, and it's pretty difficult to take at certain points. And I'm not going to tell you any more about what happened, but the one thing that would happen, I know it would happen to you watching this movie. It happened to me. Heath Ledger again is running around in some way trying to help his regiment, who, they have the superior training and the superior artillery and the blank checks of the Royal Army, but of course, they always find themselves getting slaughtered and being in bad situations and death and disease. And you get the sense, you and I would get the sense, and I did, and you would, in the first 25, 30 minutes of the movie, or maybe 10 minutes after they're in the Sudan, this is what we would say. And, the popcorn crunchers, the people around us, they probably wouldn't even think this. You just say, what are they doing there? What the heck are they doing there? It just looks like any other insurgency is coming, on behalf of this Mahdi, is coming to drive out the British. There's sniper tactics and guerrilla tactics and strange tactics on the battlefield to confuse the British. And the British, they are getting, I guess there's a lot of truth to this. They probably, I looked into it a little bit on Wikipedia. I mean, they were whipped a little bit. I mean, in the beginning of this war, it was British got it handed to them, and that's one of the regions this elite regiment from the Royal College of whatever was sent in, so they wouldn't get their asses handed to them anymore. But they continue to get their asses handed to them. But you stop and you go, what are they even doing there? Like it's desert, it's dirty, it's people just struggling to survive over campfires and areas of the Sudan where there's not even a blade of grass. And again, you and I just go, what are they? What sort of monsters, control these empires of the British Empire, but they all, and then now the American Empire, always have to have their military and their armies just meddling and just constantly messing with the indigenous people. And of course, before 150 years to 200 years, it wasn't just the British. The French controlled 10 to 12, 15 countries, and the Dutch controlled 10 to 12 to 15 countries, and the Spanish did. They're all equal monsters. Just stay home. But again, just about the four feathers, you watch the English army, or this branch of the English army, in their red coats and their nice uniforms, and it's all desert. There's ruins and sweeping sandstorms, and of course they're harming the indigenous way of life, creating, maybe this Mahdi would take over everything. And of course the British, I'm sure, have an excuse that, we had to evacuate Egyptians as part of it, or we had to evacuate Canadians. Now, you didn't have to fight it. Then if that was the case, then you would have gotten out in 6 months. It was about an 18-year war. You say, what are you doing there? And it's not, when we get into examining the nature of the reality itself, what is this not milk? We can see, and there's just no way your friend, your Aunt Ginny, or the guy down the cul-de-sac will ever see this aspect of what we see. There's just no, other than the strange stuff that we look at in the conspiracy world, that they always have to have wars going for a blood sacrifice, because they feed off the loosh, or the energies of war, and the blood and the death. And something here that stands behind the curtain of reality feeds from it, or off of it. Most people say off of it, but I guess from it is better said. I'll make a whole presentation of ad hoc for 30 minutes, and someone will leave a comment about I didn't say something the right way. What happened? What was it the other day? Matt, when they agree with you, they will nod their head in agreement, not shake their head. All right. Yeah. You send me something, 30 minutes of talking ad hoc on the fly, and I'll analyze it back. So we just go, what are they doing here? And, it's not the excuses that are served up for the newspapers. There's other reason for it. There's something really dark here that feeds off this sort of blood that always has to be created through war. And it just hit me, right off the bat. And I'm being a little long-winded, but it just reminded me of the U.S. in Afghanistan, the U.S. in Iraq, the U.S. Look what the U.S. did to the Philippines over the years. We got those. The Japanese were in there. They were pretty harsh to those poor Filipinos, of course, and the Japanese were harsh as heck to the Chinese for 100 years. But it's like then the U.S. came in. It's like, can't if there was any sort of common sense, you'd say at some point, some government on behalf of one of these empires, like the United States or Britain or whatever, would at one time just do some good. would come in and say, okay, we kicked out the Japanese, Filipinos, and we're here if you need us, and we're here to help if you need anything, and we'll have your back, but we'll just get out and leave you alone. No, it's just constant meddling, your sticky fingers into everything. No Zara. Sticky fingers into everything. Maybe we can correct that with the new Mac. Put it up in the air or something so she can't. Well, she'd get up there anyway. And then it leads to Imelda and Ferdinand Marcos and things like that. It's constant meddling. And you say to yourself, this is unnatural. There's no just regular men and women just trying to help. They're just constant meddling, constant bringing death to the local indigenous people, constant meddling in Central American affairs for the United States. Am I going to get a slap? Is it some sort of primate speech? If I talk bad about U.S. policy, didn't they tell us they told me my whole life we have the First Amendment and I'm allowed to speak freely even about my own country. I don't think that don't exist no more. So this four feathers thing was very revealing in a lot of ways. And let me just pause this section and look at my notes for the next section. Okay, let me show you some of the thumbnails so you can get a better picture of what the Four Feathers is all about, the movie. And again, we use it as a base camp to bridge on to other topics. One topic being what is the role of this Heath Ledger? It's like Tom Hanks light in terms of his Illuminati standing. We'll ponder that in a moment. But it goes back to, here it says 1929 film, Four Feathers. They'd love this theme. It's almost like the system itself needs to present this for some reason. I hope I remember to talk about that. Four Feathers 1939 film here, based on the 1902 book, The Four Feathers. Let's see if it's in Wikipedia here. Look at the tail of the tape on the right. Based on the Four Feathers 1902 novel by A.E.W. Mason. A.E.W. Mason, 1902 book. Now this one here, it says with Heath Ledger, budget $35 million, box office $29 million. It's almost like they just got it wrong. They couldn't have made any money at all. It's almost like you get the sense they have to put this story out. They put it out so many times, starting with a book, 3 films, and we don't need it to make money, just basically break even, and then we put it out. We put it out for them. We've showed it to them again. I don't know. I wasn't in the Eyes Wide Shut party where they decided to do this, but you just get am I sure about this in terms of inner knowing? No, it's not one that's real strong with me. Of course, it could have just been a bad decision to make a movie about this subject again, and it flopped. It's not, I agree, not everything is the highest level conspiracy from the Illuminati Control Center in Chernobyl. I know. Sometimes I'll go too far, okay? But we ponder these things. That's what we do on this channel. We get it wrong sometimes. Okay, sometimes a cigar is a cigar. I got it. I know. I haven't completely lost it yet. I'm close. My banana talked to me yesterday. I'm kidding. My banana didn't talk to me yet. When it does, I'll tell you it did. And I'll tell you what it said. But 35 minutes, it's like, maybe they just made a mistake. But then you have the running themes that come through Heath Ledger, the little Tom Hanks. And let's go look at, again, some of the imagery, battles against the Mahdi's forces. It's just constant death and struggling to survive, and sickness and thirst and starvation, and the conditions are horrible. And you could see around this guy, there's just not a blade of grass for about 50,000 miles. And this is where they came from. It was like a military college, and they're just playing rugby, and they never thought, these guys are the sons of high level connected inside the British Empire. They never thought they'd go really fight. You get that sense. And he's the big man, Heath Ledger's the big man. But then once they say he's going, he becomes the purpose of the Four Feathers, like the White Feather Girls, becomes a coward, is afraid to go. But then in the end, goes to help his regiment and becomes the toughest SOB you'll ever come across. Lawrence of Arabia, would love to have this guy in terms of what he turned into, fighting on behalf of the Saudi tribes in World War I. Lawrence of Arabia, huge truth. It's historically accurate for the most part. I wasn't there, but Lawrence of Arabia will show you what the Saudi tribes were running around, in their camels and their swords and then they were just given hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of oil. Makes perfect sense. Go watch Lawrence of Arabia. You want to see how believable the Arab states are, and not they weren't just set up by the West or anything. Who would possibly think that they're just puppets of the Western powers, which all relates to me back to the one world system. This is Four Feathers 1939. It was so great it had to be made again. Matt, haven't you seen the comic book movies? That's what Hollywood does. They remake. Okay, over here. This is Heath Ledger undercover, trying to help his regiment. His regiment doesn't even know he's in country until the very end. He's trying to provide assistance. Ends up getting himself thrown in jail. Now this is a strange dynamic, guys. I don't even know how to insert this, and do it in the right way. In other words, this is one where I need to be on free voice. This actor's name, I can't pronounce it. I'm not trying to butcher it. It's DJIMON, like Djimon Hounsou, Hounsou, Djimon Hounsou. I'm sorry if it's wrong, but Is there any other when you need and when you need the role of an African, a true African? Is there any other actors out there anywhere? I mean, it's honestly, it's the same guy in like every role. I mean, I like him. I like him in Gladiator. You will see, you will die. You will see your dead wife and murdered wife and child, but not yet. It's not time to go yet. I like this guy. He played Cinque in Amistad, you know, and he plays a really cool role here. But don't they have anybody? It's like the British phenomenon in American movies. It's the same. We in America we say, ain't there more than say 8 British actors and actresses? It's the same. Judi Dench every time, Benjamin Cucumber in every damn thing. It's the same 8 people all the time. And this, anytime, it's like what Hollywood, you need to play a black African with the accent. One guy in a whole book? You don't understand what I'm saying. So I don't know. Anyway, I like him. Wasn't he the same guy in a Janet Jackson? Love will never do without you. Anyway, whatever. I like him, but it's a weird phenomenon. And there is that phenomenon with the Brits too. It's the same 10 Brits in all the American movies. Whatever. Let's talk about creepy Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger movies. See what all this creepy stuff he's been in. This he does scream to be a little Tom Hanks in terms of the special roles he plays for the Illuminati Control Center, Chernobyl branch. You've got the big ones like the Joker, and you want to talk about strange movies that are made by the system for weird reasons. What is it? The something about Dr. Parnassus. I mean, you want to talk about I've watched it so you don't have to. I mean, Dr. Parnassus is as weird as it gets in terms of a movie that has truth. Oh, of course, the Mountain Man. He played with Jake. That was the ushering in of the time when they made those choices. Not that there's anything wrong, as Seinfeld said, not that there's anything wrong with it, but they ushered in that choice, that lifestyle choice, as the greatest thing of all time. The Broken Mountain was absolutely used as a catalyst to usher that in. I mean, you want to talk about making the Illuminati Hall of Fame just in that. Just in if he was still alive, sitting around a bar somewhere, maybe in Davos, places you and I can't go, and somebody doesn't recognize him and says, "Oh, you're the guy. Oh, you're Heath Ledger." Some young daughter or son of a duke, of an earl, and he says, "Oh, you're that guy. You did the Brokeback. You ushered that. You're the one that ushered that wave of what was coming across all of to make those choices the greatest decision anybody could ever possibly make." And he'd just look over with his $4,000 bottle of cognac and say, "I'm the guy. I'm the guy that started that wave." That was the real wave. Now what Bruce did, Bruce of the decathlon Olympics, who decided that he was going to become Caitlyn, they tried to use him as a catalyst in the same way, and he failed because it was a joke. But the movement didn't fail. The movement was too big. It was too necessary for what Caitlyn was trying to do. But in terms of the role that he played or Z played, he failed. I mean, it was a joke with this guy. This guy, in this role, he didn't. But anyway, so is this Dr. Parnassus? I mean, you want to talk about a creepy-ass movie. Oh, look at this. Anybody surprised? Somebody's like, "I'm just listening. I'm not watching." So what is it? What you looking at, Matt? It's I'll give you 3 guesses, but you're only going to need one. It's the Joker, but he's got the Batman card. He's got actually, it's very interesting. It's over the right eye, of course, but the Joker is holding a deck of cards, and normally where the Joker card would be, as sandwiching the deck, it's a Batman card. It's Joker holding the Batman card. Very interesting, but of course directly over the right eye. That's it. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about the height of Illuminati truth drop movies. People help me with that, guys. I watched it once and I was like, I can't go back and watch this 4 or 5 times to truly get I just can't take it. And people like helped me understand a bit of it. But I really should revisit that one, but I'm not like mentally ready to do it yet. I'm telling you, man, that movie. So, but is he dead? I don't think so. Over time, we struggle with David Bowie's of the world and Chris Cornell's and this guy and even Prince and, the big segment of this is a big truth. This is truthers in a bar yelling back forth at each other. Less filling, no tastes great. Less filling, no tastes great. Here, less filling, we'll just call it less death. This would be, I'm in this camp more, that David Bowie and Heath Ledger and many of them could be a hybrid of both. It doesn't mean it's all or one. They're somewhere on the map that doesn't exist on your map. It's on the map, their map. It doesn't exist on your map. You go about yourself and get your own map, because that whole little big ass island the size of New Zealand that's just off Tahiti, they don't show that on no map. And any mariner that gets blown off course gets sucked in there. It's like getting marooned on Wonder Woman's island of the Amazons. You go on, you don't go off. Maybe you go on that island. It's a bad thing. You're a maroon mariner on an island with 4,000 hot women. Okay, I'm going to stop and wait for the Trans P Oc Tupac army to comment. I know. I can hear you writing. I know what you're writing. They're all men. I know. I'd still like to be marooned on the island. I'd take my chance. Couple off nights, few dinglings come out. It's okay. Just roll off the bed and say, that ain't for me, man. I'm just I'm going to go get some sleep over here in the hammock. It's okay. I take my chances on Diana's island of the Amazons. But I think I don't believe, like, David Bowie to me is an obvious one. Nobody I've ever corresponded with on this, and I haven't done mountains of research on it, but nobody's ever come forth in this community and said, Matt, there were some real pictures of David Bowie looking really, and any picture can be doctored and everything, but they just had nothing of him. He had cancer supposedly and died, and there's no indication he was even sick for the most part. I don't know, whatever may exist now, I don't know, I haven't looked for years, but when he died, everyone was like, there was no indication, there was no pictures of him. This, for example, like, maybe it's a bad example, but the way Steve Jobs looked horrible in his presentation. He got on stage one Mac or Apple conference or whatever, and he was, it was like he was like 120 pounds. He just looked bad, and I don't think that existed for David Bowie. Then you have him putting out the creepiest stuff in the world with Black Star and Lazarus, and you want to watch some bizarro videos, watch David Bowie, Lazarus, and Black Star. Guys, I came back and added this. This is what I'm about to talk about. I just jumped into this assuming everybody knows what I'm talking about and everybody's done this for 10 years, which isn't right. What I'm about to talk about is what went around the truth community right after David Bowie died. This guy, this supposedly music reviewer, Jack Steven, came. This isn't a good picture, and I'm not going to play it. He does look just like David Bowie. He came and did an interview about David Bowie's death, which I don't think he died. But the truth community said that this guy was David Bowie dressed up like he was talking about his own death, and he came on the show. You'll see in what's about to come. That this is, you want to talk about the mockery. They laughed at the truth community for believing this. They made it up so this guy looked like David Bowie. Everything's at a different level than what most of the truth community is operating at. David Bowie didn't come and dress up like this and come on this show. Come on, man. That's what I'm about to talk about here. Just had to insert this. That guy was him, and I don't buy that. for a second. I think you know what I think, guys. You want to. This is operating back in 2010 truth or first grade truth. Do I think they mock? But they operate at multiple levels, multiple dimensions, multiple levels of three-dimensional chess. All right, it's always the truth community doesn't go far enough. We've talked about everything's a triple layer conspiracy, not everything, but there's what's presented to the masses, which of course is complete idiocracy and completely false. Then what is presented to first level truth, which in this is the case of the reporter being David Bowie, talking about David Bowie's death. I don't buy it. I don't buy they just dressed him up and put him out there as a mockery, and they probably found a guy that looks a lot like David Bowie. See, you got to go to the next level. Or this guy did look a lot like David Bowie, and they made him look even more like David Bowie. Then they floated it throughout the truth community that it is David Bowie. Why would David Bowie do that? Just think it through. Give me a break. He's going to work he's going to be one of the number one guys in the Illuminati Control Center, putting this stuff out, going back to Ziggy Stardust, the first on the 9/11 concert for New York. The first act that comes out for 2 weeks after 9/11 in the concert is a completely new rendition of David Bowie comes out, and it's like an acoustic version of Heroes. And a guy of that level, he's going to then put a wig on and fake teeth on. He's going to play himself. Come on. They found a guy that looks like, but then that's what they want. They wanted that to go out. Then they wanted us to run with it for obvious reasons, that as soon as we tell Uncle Ted down at the Thanksgiving table that David Bowie came back and played himself a few days after his death, and we're like, that boy's nuts. Don't even let him sit at the main table. Put him at the kids' table. That's the whole point of these triple level conspiracies. You have to go to 3-4 levels. It wasn't David Bowie. It was a guy meant to look like David Bowie, so the truth community would think it's David Bowie. It's right back from that what's that movie where the guy that played Iron Man, what's his name? He also played Sherlock Holmes. Morton Downey Jr. He had a talk show. Robert Downey Jr. plays a black guy in that movie. He's like, I'm a dude playing another dude. That's what's going on with the David Bowie thing. It's a dude playing a dude who you think is another dude. So I'm just letting you know, okay? That's how they do business. And it's all to degrade our standing with the guy down the cul-de-sac and with Aunt Ginny. And look at the other creeps. They brought in Johnny Depp for Parnassus. See, Heath Ledger died, supposedly. He's ordering drinks with David Bowie and pina coladas with Chris Cornell on that place on the map that they have that you don't. And they brought in the way they did the ending of this is actually, it's too good. It's better that he died during it. They bring in these top level Illuminati puppet actors. Depp, who's this guy? He play even thinking Gattaca, Cold Mountain. Repeating a thing don't improve it none. You holding a tray. This guy. What's this guy's name? What's your name? Inman WP. What do you do, Inman? I work wood. So, Cold Mountain is a damn good movie. It really is. Cold Mountain is a damn good movie. I don't want to be too all over the place here, and I am. I know I'll get back. I'm already all over the place based on where we came in. We came in through the portal of the Four Feathers. But Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. This is the Joaquin Phoenix version. Extremely, extremely good, of course. I only had one issue with the Joker. When Heath Ledger played the Joker, you at that point, many people said, and I would say myself, that you couldn't have anybody ever touch that in terms of how well played that was. Some people even postulate he almost summoned a demon in. It was his whole life went down the tubes after that. It was that incredible. Denzel Washington, when he played in Glory as the ex-slave who's in the all-black regiment under the kid from War Games, Matthew Broderick, he actually admits he summoned a demon, not a demon, he summoned in spirits of dead slaves to do that role. And I wouldn't put it past them that they do this sort of thing. You would look at this role as Joker, and it was basically one of the top 10 greatest acting jobs of all time. Then this guy basically eclipses it. I mean, what are the chances of that? But the one problem with this movie here, guys, is, and I will get back on point. Stop saying you'll get back on point and just get back on point. I hear you. It's hard to just do ad hocing on the fly like this, guys. Sometimes it's difficult. Now, if this guy's supposed to be some mastermind who takes on these, the Justice League, and I wanted to at least see some genius. I wanted to see some evil genius emerge. I know that wasn't his role in this movie. He was abused, beaten up, teased, but I wanted to see a genius in some way, a genius he had that was not harnessed or was not used, like the way the toothpicks dropped from Rain Man, and he said, 248 toothpicks. He said, no, you're off by 2, Rain Man. There's there's 250 in the box. That's close, though. That's good, Rain Man. He's like, no, there's still 2 in the box. He got it right. He just looked at the number of toothpicks. 96.5, bam, the home of rock and roll. 96.5, bam. I'm saying, sorry. Guys, I'm inserting this. The number I chose there, and normally I would remove that. 90, 6 and 5 is 11. Because there'd be a couple of bullshit comments from the people that try to break down what's on my sweatshirt and all that BS. That I must be Joe Rogan or something, because I just, in a joke, I'm talking 20 minutes on the fly, I said 96.5. It was very interesting. Is there a reason that just flowed out? 6 and 5 is 11, 9, maybe. Again, I'm speaking on the fly with my conscience brain, the frontal lobes, but who knows where stuff comes from. It was very interesting. So I wanted to see something that was like in Heath Ledger, in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, that would show you how genius he was, or could become as an evil mastermind. And they didn't show you that. They just showed you kind of a weak character, and you walk away wondering, well, how did he ever become this, this evil leader? So maybe they did show something, I just missed it. But I don't think this guy's dead. I just don't think most of them are. I really don't. I don't have anything I'm basing that off of. I know, many in the truth community, it's the light beer from Miller. The less filling is less dead, and the taste great is that's the dead side. And because they're dead, or they're ritually sacrificed because they've as Bob Dylan said, made a deal with the big guy, and he presented the big guy in the interview with Ed Bradley, 60 Minutes, that he did a deal with the devil. Of course, that's what Bob Dylan presented. That's why he can never get out. A year and a half ago, he puts out a whole new song or album out about JFK. I mean, give me a break. People would say that they do a deal with the devil, but who are they? No matter what you believe there, are they doing a deal with something where they're given the fame and fortune and then have to go forward with a ritual sacrifice? And I don't think it's not all taste great or all less filling. It can be both. The beer is both. So I think it can happen both ways. I just think most people in this situation, like this guy, when you serve the system as well as he did, I don't think he's dead. I really don't. Chris Cornell, there's just no indication at all that he would have taken his own life. It's almost ridiculous. I mean, even Michael Jackson, as weird as he was, and it's so easy to believe that he would take his own life with the Dopafol, or the doctor having to put him to sleep, and just I don't know, just a story. All those stories regarding Michael Jackson, had to sleep in a weird chamber, and he was weird enough where it was all believable, but it's kind of a story, isn't it? And, wherever they are, or the continent that they go to, these stars go off and you don't hear anything from them for months. They go off. Is this the truth drop of the island of, what's his name? EpiPen Steiner Island. Is that the truth drop? Of course, that whole thing is a complete joke. I mean, a complete fabrication. Matt, you're protecting the bad guys. You're protecting the sickos. That's first level truth. You want to operate there, operate there. Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't have time to explain it to you. Of course, it doesn't just be if I say the EpiPen Steiner is a complete joke and it's all made up, that doesn't mean I don't think they're doing sick things in the same areas over here. It's actually to protect what they're doing over here. How many times have I said that? People just still operate at first level truth. It's incredible. It's incredible how much first level truth I see going around YouTube and other places, considering me and many of us have been doing this for almost 10 years. I mean, we should have learned something, but you just see the same first grade crap over and over again. And I'll give a pass to somebody that's been here only a year or so, but I'm seeing it. You see that in people that have been doing it a while. Anyway, so is it, that's probably a truth drop that the EpiPen, was about. What was it all about? An island. Well, a continent. Australia is an island. Something exists on the map that ain't on your map. I believe that. We don't buy Antarctica is anything at all like what they tell us. But for the masses, all you got to do, let's put in March of the Penguins. For the masses, all you got to do is put in Morgan Freeman to talk over you get the coldest place on earth, you find the penguins, and these poor frozen ass sons of bitches, they're so damn cold. I'm trying to find where they show it. They're so damn cold that for 11 and a half months of the year, they just make a circle with 4,000 of them all jammed together. And the one in the middle is giving birth in the middle of all the body heat. And it looks horrible. There's just winds are whipping. It's like negative 90 degrees and they're all huddled together. And you just want to tell people what Antarctica is. You just get Morgan Freeman to talk over and you show them that shit. You say, oh man, that's just a place of ice. There ain't nothing there. The Nazis went down to Antarctica. They just wanted to be cold. There's nothing there. What were they doing there? What was Admiral Byrd kept trying to get in there? It's just this freezing cold place. There's nothing there. Just show them March of the Penguins. And then if that's not good enough, show them 8 Below. That guy from Fast and the Furious running around trying to save his dogs, his Eddas. What kind of dog is it? Edda. It's a husky, I guess. So you show them 8 Below, and then that tells the other portion of the masses what Antarctica is all about. Then nobody asks any questions except us, and then we're seen as crazy. Yeah, so there it is. There's all these frozen asses huddled together. But look, it's all they posed for the picture. It looks like whoever was taking the picture of the penguins said, "Look, let's get a group shot. Look up here." Maybe they made the exact shape here of the island that people like David Bowie and Heath Ledger go off to. It's like Risa in Star Trek. They get their Maharon on. So I will end the video here, and hopefully didn't stray, too far into the absurd from where we started, which was the movie The Four Feathers. Thanks for listening.